So, what if I told you that the way America prepares for disasters might be, well, fundamentally wrong? There's a new executive order on the table, and believe me, it's not just a minor tweak. This thing is aiming to completely rewrite the playbook for everything from hurricanes to cyber attacks. So, let's get into it and break down what's really going on here.
All right, just think about this for a second. When a disaster really hits, who do you actually expect to be in charge? Is it the feds, your state government, maybe your local mayor? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer is, well, it's complicated. And that exact question is the central debate this new executive order is diving right into.
And you know what? This executive order has a very clear, very bold answer to that question, and it represents a pretty radical shift in national policy. The core argument here is that for decades, we've basically been looking for help in all the wrong places.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. What is this new playbook? Well, officially, it's Executive Order 14239, and its title, Achieving Efficiency Through State and Local Preparedness. I mean, that pretty much says it all, doesn't it? The whole point is to take apart that old, top-down, federal-first model of disaster response. So, if you boil it all down, here's the absolute core mission. It's all about shifting the main responsibility for being prepared away from Washington, D.C. and putting it right on the shoulders of states, local communities, and yeah, even individual people like you and me. Now, you can't make a shift this massive without a really good reason, right? So what's the justification? Why now? Well, the document itself lays out a pretty powerful case for this change, and it's all built on a very specific philosophy about how preparedness should work. And this quote right here from Section 1 of the order, it really gets to the heart of that philosophy. It says preparedness is most effectively owned and managed at the state, local, and even individual levels. I mean, the logic is pretty simple, right? The people who are actually on the ground are the ones who know the local risks best. This completely reframes the federal government's role. They're no longer the main character in the story, they're in a supporting role.
And this really helps to visualize the two competing ideas. On one side, you've got what the order implies is the current approach. It's led by the feds, it's super complex, and it tries to cover all hazards. But what this new order is pushing for is something totally different. A system that's owned by the states, way more streamlined, and really informed by specific local risks.
And listen to the language they use here. It is incredibly pointed. The goal isn't just about efficiency. It's about, and this is a direct quote from a section title, updating federal policy to save lives and end the subsidization of mismanagement. Wow. I mean, that's a direct shot, right? It's basically an accusation that the current system rewards failure. This tells you this isn't just a minor adjustment, it's a complete overhaul. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. But that brings us to the really big question. How are they actually going to make this happen? Well, this isn't just philosophy. The order lays out a very concrete action plan, and is driven by some seriously aggressive deadlines. And I mean it when I say aggressive. This is not a 5-year plan. It's an all-out sprint. Look at this timeline. They've got to publish a whole new national resilience strategy in just 90 days. Then review huge chunks of infrastructure and continuity policies in 180 days. A brand new national risk register in 240 days. And within 1 year, they need a proposal to streamline massive parts of the federal government. The clock is definitely ticking. So let's talk about that first big deadline, that National Resilience Strategy, due in just 90 days. Think of this as the cornerstone for everything else. It's the foundational document, the new master playbook that's going to guide every single action and policy review that comes after it. Now, as part of that 180-day review, some really major policies are getting a hard look. I mean, they're basically on the chopping block. We're talking about the national security memorandums and executive orders that are the very backbone of how we protect our food and agriculture, our supply chains, and all of our critical infrastructure. Nothing is off the table here. And it doesn't stop there. It actually goes even deeper. This review is also targeting what's called national continuity. So what's that? It's basically the government's own plan to keep the lights on and keep functioning during a major catastrophe. And again, key policies on things like emergency communications and federal mission resilience, they're all up for a complete and total rethink. Another huge piece of this is the creation of a brand new national risk register. The idea here is to get rid of the vague guesswork of the past and replace it with a system that's totally data-driven, one that can actually identify and quantify threats. And make no mistake, this isn't just some academic exercise. This register is designed to guide how billions of dollars in federal spending and private investment are allocated.
So with all this talk of streamlining, what's the specific problem they're trying to solve? Well, the executive order, it pulls no punches. It describes the current system as a, and I'm quoting here, bureaucratic and complicated lens of overlapping and overbroad functions. In other words, a tangled mess.
And if you're wondering what that actually looks like in practice, well, here are just a few of the official terms being thrown around. You've got national essential functions, primary mission essential functions, national critical functions, emergency support functions. I mean, the list goes on. What's the real difference between them? More importantly, who's in charge of what? The order's whole argument is that this web of jargon just creates confusion right when you need clarity the most. And that's exactly the knot that this one-year streamlining proposal is supposed to untangle.
All right, so we've been deep in the weeds, looking at the nuts and bolts. But now let's zoom out and ask the most important question of all. So what? What's the intended outcome here? At the end of the day, how is all of this supposed to actually make the country safer?
Well, according to the order itself, the end game is a pretty straightforward three-step process. Step 1 is all about empowering states, localities, and individuals to manage their own risks. Step 2 is about reducing the burden on taxpayers by increasing efficiency and, as they said, ending mismanagement. And the ultimate goal, Step 3, is to create a more resilient nation by building it from the ground up with smart, risk-informed local decisions.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most critical question this whole order leaves us with. If preparedness becomes more and more local, as that responsibility shifts downward to states and to individuals, what does that mean for the role of the nation? What is the federal government's job in this new world? It's a huge question, and it's definitely something worth thinking about.